turn onto Desert Inn. As that bus made that turn, that bus came into contact with an adult female whose identity is unknown at this point. Struck that female as she was in the roadway, and unfortunately the female did not survive that collision. We do have a number of witnesses who have stood by and who are helping us to determine exactly how this happened. And we also, the bus driver remained on scene, has been cooperative with the investigation. At this point, we do not believe that speed or impairment are factors involved in this crash. And we are also working with the school district for possible videos from the buses.
Do we know if the pedestrian was in a crosswalk?
We don't know exactly at this point where the pedestrian was in the roadway, and so that's what we're trying to determine, and hopefully with the videos that we're able to obtain either from the businesses in the area or with the help of the school district, we'll be able to determine that.
Do the school buses have cameras on them?
Some of them do, some of them don't. From my understanding is, I believe the majority of them have internal cameras. I believe some of the newer buses have external cameras. And so we're trying to determine which buses in the area at the time that this happened that we're able to draw information from.
Which bus was it?
It was the bus involved in the wreck was this one right here, 16544.
Were there kids on the bus?
There were at the time there were 3 young children about elementary school age. Fortunately, we were able to get a hold of their parents, and they've been released to their parents.
And no children were hurt?
No children were hurt in this. Again, because the bus driver was going from a stop position on Warnock, making a right-hand turn onto Desert Inn, obviously in a school bus it'd be hard to build up any type of speed that would create circumstances where either through the collision or through braking would cause serious injury or harm to anybody on the bus.
We had a witness tell us that the pedestrian was drug under the bus for several feet. Is that something you can confirm at this point?
That's information. That's information we're trying to. That's going to be a part of the investigation, because it's clear that we can see that the subject is still on scene, unfortunately, and we can see how far up from that intersection that subject is. And so that's going to be part of our investigation, is to find out exactly where that lady was, or where that female was at the time that she had that collision with the bus.
And what has the driver said about why this has happened? Did she say she was distracted? What was the...
At this point, the driver was doing what she usually does. You know, she was stopped at the intersection watching for traffic so that she could safely move out into the roadway, and she tried to make the turn when she thought she could safely do so.
And you said neither speed nor impairment were factors?
Neither, no, not at this point.
And how hard is it to see another situation like this? We've talked about in the past how, you know, a lot of these situations can be prevented, and even if they can't, it's just really difficult to see for you and for the people involved.
It comes down to a number of factors. You know what, when this happened at 341, you know, we're coming into the latter part of the year where, you know, you've got the sun setting in the west. If you're making a turn to the west, if you're looking to the west, you know, your vision may not be as good looking as if you were looking to the east because the sun's in your eyes. What I tell people, whether you're driving a car, driving a vehicle, driving a bus, or you're a pedestrian, is be in the moment, be aware of what you're doing at that time. That's not a time to be multitasking. It's not a time, if you've got a lot of things going on at home or things worrying you, that's not a time to be concerning yourself about those things. You should be focused on what you're doing on the roadway. That way you are aware of all the variables and everything that come and confront you in the process of driving. And the same thing with pedestrians. Even when you're in the right-of-way and crossing a street, it's always the best practice to make sure you're doing those things to ensure your safety. Just because you're in the roadway legally doesn't mean you're in the roadway safely. And so what you want to do is, if you're a pedestrian, is make sure you're having eye contact with those drivers that are closest to you that could be a potential collision. Make sure that you're also focused on what you're doing at the moment. Your head's not buried on your phone, or you're not having a phone conversation, or you're not occupied by other things, because if you're aware of what's going on around you and something is coming up on you that is life-endangering, then you have the ability to take those steps to get away from those things.
Can you tell us? I know you don't know exactly the person's identity. Can you tell us the description?
Right now, the only information I have is a female, possibly in her 30s a female possibly in her 40s to 50s. But again, at this point, we've not been able to identify.
And it was female driving, right?
It was a female school district bus driver. Yes.
How far down is that intersection from where we are?
The intersection is basically between this shopping center and Cashman Middle School.
Anything else?
No, just.
And they were coming from elementary school or Mills.
I'm not sure the elementary school here, but the children that were on the bus were more of elementary school age than middle school age, and so that just happened to be the route that they were coming out of, so I don't believe that it was involving Cashman students. It was involving the elementary school kids.
Thank you, officer.